Hey guys, we have no vitals on the lift today, so I have to change the throwout bearing in this, which you're gonna have to drop the transmission if you're changing a throwout bearing on these cars. They're hydraulic throwout bearings, go right over the input shaft of the transmission. So if you ever blow one, you're gonna have to take the MT82 down anyway. So I kind of give you a two-step process if you're having to change your MT82, or if you're having to change the throwout bearing. It's gonna be the same process, just you're gonna be changing one or the other. But yeah, we got it on the lift today. I'll take you guys through that process, but let's get started. What's up guys? So we got the car on the lift. Just want to give you guys a walkthrough of how to pull this. So you're gonna be, I have a catless X pipe, off-road X pipe, so you may or may not have this. But first and foremost, you're gonna be taking one cross member out, second cross member out. You'll have collector bolts to come out, 2 on each side. You'll have these to drop the X pipe. After the X pipe's out of the way, back exhaust will just hang there. I have the Roush axle back, but it doesn't change anything as far as your process. Then the drive shaft will have to come out. You have ones on the back, ones on the front. Remember, on putting it back, you're gonna have torque specs, especially with the drive shaft. You're gonna wanna follow that pretty good. After the drive shaft is out, that's when if you already haven't taken your cross members out, you'll take them out. And then you have the bell housing bolts. After the bell housing bolts, which also includes the starter, I would recommend just unplugging your battery. That starter is going to spark on everything if you don't. And then after the bell housing bolts come out, you'll wiggle her out and she'll drop. But you'll follow along and we'll show you that process. All right guys, first thing we're going to do in my steps is going to be collector bolts and taking this X pipe down. Gets everything out of the way so you can start taking cross members out and then drive shaft. Okay guys, also one thing to keep in mind when you're dropping this transmission or going to drop the transmission for throwout bearing or replacing it, you got to take the center console out. You got to take the shift knob off. So I'll just do a quick run through of that real quick. Just going to twist this. If you have an aftermarket shift knob, it's going to work the same way. Just twist it off. It might have a spacer right here to go to the boot. Now I have an MGW short shifter and such like that, but I just put the stock shift knob on there so nobody knows. But you'll be able to see the MGW. All right, so once that's off, you're just gonna pop it up from back here. So just lift up right here. Just gonna pop these little clips out. Make sure the boot's off. Push up and out. There's clips right there, so you need to pull back towards yourself and out. Now you have just a couple little wires for like the lights inside the cup holders, and for all these buttons you'll need to unhook those. Let's see if I can do it with one hand real quick. Yeah, it's a little slide clip. Pop her out right there. Move to this side. Pop this one out. Pop this one out. She needs a little cleaning. Now she's out. I usually just leave it right there. You can leave one clip still in there. All the other ones are way too short to leave in there. Then pull back on this, get this boot out of the way. I don't even undo those little clips because they're not needed. You just need to get this out of the way to let that shifter go. Now that the boot's exposed, pull that boot up and off. And now here's my NGW and such like that. It'll look a little different if you have stock, but you just have to get this off so it'll be able to drop down once you get that transmission loose. All right guys, I got everything loosened up. It's about to come down, but I just wanted to make a quick point. So I'm a big proponent of not losing bolts. So these are literally just like pressure clamps. You just loosen these up and then they'll slide back and you can get this X pipe off. Sometimes they need a little motivation. Just like that, and you're never gonna have to drop these bolts completely. And there she goes.
Those
All right guys, now time to take the drive shaft loose. Now I usually work the transmission through this little hole, just put it in a gear. And then when I get them loose, I'll put it in neutral, spin it again to the next two I need to do, put it back in gear so it's not free flowing anymore, so you can actually untighten them. All right guys, drive shaft is out. And now it's time for cross members and then start on the bell housing and the starter. All right guys, this cross member, good rule of thumb, like I said, try not to lose bolts, just like we did on the X-pipe and the axle back. Just put these bolts right back on the studs so you don't lose them, or else you'll have to find a flange nut. And yeah, nobody wants to go down that road and going all around hardware stores. So yeah, first cross member's out. All right guys, just wanted to give you a quick tip. So this cross member should be the last thing you unbolt. So go for the bell housing bolts, take off the starter, and then once all that is loose and done, got the bolts out, this is going to be the last thing holding your transmission up. So I've done it on jack stands before. So get your jack, or if you're using a transmission jack, get that under it and then unloose and then unbolt this and then let it drop. And then you're going to have to wiggle it a little bit, get that input shaft out and up. You're going to have to keep an eye on this hole, making sure you're not dragging your shifter or messing up the body at all. But yeah, last thing you need to unbolt is this cross member. It's the last thing holding on your transmission. And then before you drop it, just make sure you have all your plugs undone and out of the way. So it's the last thing you have to do. All right guys, bell housing bolts are out. Starter is off. I just leave it right here on the frame. And then now literally all I have left to do, just like I said before, we're gonna drop this cross member and it's gonna come up and out. Remember, keep an eye on your shifter, keep an eye on it coming out, and then you're gonna have to wiggle it out. Drop it slow, do not drop it all at once. You don't wanna, because that input shaft is still into the pilot bearing and everything. So take your time and we'll see how it goes. Now walk you out of the way. Everything's on. Time to lower her out. Here, you get
So you know the thing that gets me about Chris's cars, or his car, is the tires. You know, you've got like Pittsburgh Harbor Freight in the front and Snap-on on the rear. Lower it. Lower it. Lower it. All right. Pull the drag. All right, now you're good.
All right guys, this is the hydraulic throwout bearing, same for 05 to 14 GTs, but this is the MT82. This is actually a early 12 or 2011 model MT82, even though it's a 2013 Mustang. I've already had to replace my MT82 before. So just quick walk around of things that you'll have to keep in mind. So back here, Ford tried to do a skip shift sensor, or you can look it up what Ford was trying to do here, but if you're running a bin caliper transmission, he'll already have this blocked off. If you get a used transmission, make sure it's blocked off, because in high RPM it will push transmission fluid out of here. You'll smoke up everything and you'll be losing transmission fluid. Here's your fill hole, here's your drain plug. If you're running a direct mount shifter like the MG82, the MGW is, you'll go to these two pins. It's not the body mount shifter like they have from factory. And then just quick sensor things. If you lose anything right here, this sensor is the reverse light backup sensor. If you lose it, it's dang near impossible to get one. But right here is the speed sensor. You'll have to get that if you lose it. Those are pretty easy to buy. But like I said, if you lose that one, it's gonna be hard to get to it. But yeah, I'll take this throwout bearing out and I'll show you a couple things. Tip. So I told you guys that this is an 11 or early 12 MT82. So quick tip that you might need. This only is on the 2011 to early 12 model MT82s. On the side of the MT82, it'll say a code AA or a code AB. If it does, you will need this ring, and there's not a Ford part number. You will have to find one, maybe online or on some forums, and you'll have to buy it. If you're running a 13 or a 14 transmission, you don't have to worry about this whatsoever, but just a quick tip, you will have to run this throwout bearing spacer if you are running it. Alright guys, throwout bearing is in. You'll have 2 screws, and then just make sure it's through that hole, which it's always like in the same spec. You might have to move this around a little bit. That's where the clutch line hooks up, but usually put some assembly lube right on the input shaft, helps everything out. But yeah, everything's back together. We're about to rise it back up.
All right, watch for the hole. Keep going. Do a shimmy. You're up on there.
It's back up, and we'll do the bell housing bolts. Then when you do those bell housing bolts, it'll kind of like snug these holes back in on the on this first cross member. After the bell housing bolts are in, snug that cross member up and start bolting everything back up. Drive shaft is back in. Got everything together. Just quick notes on the drive shaft. That is a 12 millimeter. The one on the back is a 10 millimeter. You got 6 back there, 4 right here. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I usually put the car in gear and then in neutral and gear and in neutral to help it hold the drive shaft. And then on these bolts, you will have a spacer in the back towards the body that goes in between the bracket and the body. So there's a little like maybe 1/2 inch spacer or something like that that goes in between the body and the bracket. And then after all of those are tightened up to torque spec, time to put up the exhaust, and then you're pretty much almost done. And then one thing I didn't mention in the beginning of the video, before we took down the transmission, you're gonna need to make sure you take the clutch line off of the throwout bearing, slave cylinder, etc. Little tube right here. There's a little clip. You can either get a flathead or a needle nose pliers, pull the clip out, then it pops out. That clip is super hard to find, so make sure you don't lose it. But yeah, then put it back in when you're ready. But you will need to pull it out before you drop the transmission, then back in when it's going. But yeah, we'll put this exhaust back up and then update you guys. All right guys, everything's bolted back up, cross members in place. Just things to keep in mind. Make sure to tighten all your exhaust bolts up. Make sure to put your O2 sensors back on, or you mean make sure to plug up your O2 sensors again. And make sure, like I said, I've already touched it, but that clutch line has to be on there. But other than that, it's time to get in the car and pump the clutch. We'll say Ford pretty much has a self-bleeding system, so you're just gonna pump it basically 1,000,000 times. I'm being facetious, but and then it will start giving you your clutch feel again. But yeah. All right guys, that pretty much ends the video. Usually takes me about, if I have a lift, it'll take me about 3 hours or